Good morning, everybody. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. Saturday, we really had some gorgeous weather. I hope you got some time outside with your family. We are starting our read aloud today. Oh, I don't have the count. I think it's day 18, maybe? Nope, day 19 today. So we've been going with this book for quite a bit of time now. I'm looking forward to seeing how it continues to play out, I guess. Um, if you've missed any of the read aloud days, I have made my channel and my post public so that you can go back and look at the other videos. So you can like the videos, but you can't comment on them. But you can comment below in our Google Classroom stream. I'd love to hear from those of you that are listening. Even just tell me that you're listening, or tell me what you think about the book so far. We've gone through some pretty emotional parts over the last couple days. I'd love to hear what you're thinking and what you think about the development of some of these characters like Jeffrey, um, Lexi, and even Peter. We haven't heard from Peter, but we've heard about Peter, and that I think that's a pretty big piece in this whole book. I think we'll be hearing from him soon. Okay, we're going to start today with Luke. I'd visit the hospital several times, but never once had I gone in the waiting room. Not until I sat in there with my class on brain surgery day. Sat for hours. The room had a nice layout. The architects had found a way to maximize dollar word the area while keeping a large perimeter. The room represented a rectangle with little sections of the wall jutting into the interior here and there. This created corners and smaller spaces within the larger room. I found this was important because people wanted privacy. At least that was how it felt while I waited. Danielle. We sat together in the waiting room. I sat next to my mother. We left Grandma at home, not knowing how she would handle being in the company of Terry and Anna. Anna sat across from us next to her mother. A large wooden coffee table rested in the middle of everyone. It reminded me of our class meetings. We didn't form a circle on the floor, and we didn't have the microphone, but it was close enough, except no one talked. Mr. Terupt always started our meetings, so we sat silent until Anna spoke up. Thank goodness. But after Luke answered her question, no one else talked, at least not until Jeffrey surprised us. He put our class microphone in the middle of the big wooden table. I stared at it. Then I looked at Jeffrey. How did he know to bring it? Just a hunch, he said. I noticed that he and Jessica were looking at each other. I reached down and took the microphone. Remember the first time Mr. Turret brought this out? I said. I passed the microphone to Lexi. I was like, Teach is a weirdo, she said, but it turned out to be pretty cool, sort of like the grass thing. 77,537,412, Luke reminded us. That grass project was awesome. The microphone moved around our square and we shared different stories and memories. It was perfect. Then a doctor came into the waiting room. Jessica, Act 11, Scene 2. Enter a man wearing a lime green scrubs and a matching hospital cap, the kind that cinches around the head like a shower cap. I saw him the moment he came through the door. Was he coming for us? It was too soon, wasn't it? Had something gone wrong with Mr. Turp's surgery? I stiffened. Then I noticed Jeffrey. He was practically hyperventilating. This place, and especially the sight of a doctor, triggered such horrible memories for him. I wrapped my arm around him and whispered, It's okay, just breathe. My mom also helped comfort him. She sat on the other side of Geoffrey and hugged him too. Mom knew his story. I had told her, but others stared at him, wondering why he was so worked up. The doctor didn't come to us, and Geoffrey calmed down. Instead, the doctor made his way over to the knitting lady. I saw him take a deep breath, and he got closer to her, and I wondered if it was one of those big breaths you take in order to get ready to deliver bad news. He pulled a chair next to the knitting lady and sat across from her. Once she realized he was there, her hands and yarn and needles all stopped working and rested in her lap. Her eyes looked into the doctor's face. His lips never moved, but his head shook from side to side and his face expressed sorrow. The knitting lady's strong chin dropped. The yarn and needles fell to the ground and her hands covered her face. She began to shake silently with lonesome tears. A doctor placed a hand on her back and said, I'm very sorry. He waited for a while, then rose and walked out of the room. I felt silent tears trickling down my cheeks. I looked at my friends and saw some of them with tears too. I was scared, but I wasn't alone. Jeffrey. Hard to breathe. So many bad memories. Bad news everywhere. I saw the doctor walk in. I couldn't catch my breath. Jessica noticed. She and her mom wrapped their arms around me and helped me calm down. The doc wasn't for us. He handed out his bad news to someone else. I know how that goes. I'm so sorry, the doctor told my family. That was all he had to say. We knew Michael was dead. Danielle. Peter took the microphone. He still wasn't talking. He'd answer you if you asked him something, and we weren't ignoring him anymore, but for the most part he stayed silent, and he never talked about Mr. Terupt, or anything to do with the accident. I held my breath along with everyone else. At least, that was what it felt like. I remember the time I said we should invite the collaborative kids to our holiday centers. I saw Mr. T wipe his eyes after I said that. I didn't know why then. Now I do. Peter put the microphone back on the table. Alexa. I took the mic again after hearing Peter. Like I knew what he was talking about, understanding stuff about Teach, and he didn't before. That was true for me too. Teach took me in the hall and said some stuff I hated him for, really hated him, but all he did was tell me the truth. I didn't want to listen. I hated him and the truth. I stopped talking, but I didn't pass the mic yet. I was thinking. I hope Teach wakes up so he can see that I've listened, I added. He helped me. I'd like him to know that. I put the microphone back on the table. Peter picked it up again. Peter. I decided to pick up the microphone again and say one more thing. Maybe talking about Mr. T and sharing memories would help him pull through the surgery. Surgery. Brain surgery. I couldn't believe he had to have brain surgery. And all because of me. Because of the snowball I threw. My thoughts always came back to this. I remember the time I flung the frisbee. Mr. T said a few things to me, but that was it. I remember the puddle on the floor. He said a few things, but that was it. Nothing bad ever happens, I thought. I chucked that snowball. No matter what any of you say, it's all my fault. It always will be. I stopped talking so that I could fight back my tears, but I didn't put down the microphone. I wasn't done yet. I'm sorry, I said, as I looked around at everyone. I'm sorry you're here because of me. I let the microphone roll back onto the table. No one had time to respond because another doctor walked in, and this time he was our man. Jessica. Act 11, Scene 3. The door to the waiting room pushed open and another doctor walked in. Same lime green scrubs and matching cap. This doctor also wore a mask tied around his face. Jeffrey started hyperventilating again. Mom and I calmed him. We held hands on Jeffrey's lap. I squeezed Mom's hand and she squeezed back. Was this it? The doctor reached behind his head and untied the mask. He was our guy. I saw him take that deep breath as he walked towards us. Luke. I saw Dr. Wilkins approach us. My heart took off like a car that had its gas pedal mashed to the floor. Please, please, please have good news. I repeated over and over again in my head. Mom squeezed my shoulder. Dr. Wilkes found a chair and sat with us. Good news, gang, he said. Mr. Turret made it through the surgery. Our faces broke into mini smiles and we let out breaths of relief. I gave Mom a little hug. We were able to stop the bleeding and but your teacher remains in a coma, Dr. Wilkins continued. Why? Anna said. I thought that if you stopped the bleeding, he'd wake up. Her voice rose and shook a little. I thought that was what was supposed to happen. Anna spoke for all of us, but instead of Dr. Wilkins answering, Jeffrey did. Now let's wait and see, Jeffrey said. He took a deep breath in and let it out slow. That the bleeding stopped is a good sign, deep breath. But that doesn't guarantee Terupt will wake up. We have to wait and see. More deep, slow breathing. Why was he so anxious? His difficulties made me realize that he hadn't visited the hospital, but always seemed interested in my report. What was Jeffrey's deal? That's right. Wait and see and keep hoping, Dr. Wilkins said. Can we see him? Peter asked. Not today, Peter. Mr. Terupt is in a post-surgical room, being watched carefully. Why does he need to be watched carefully? Anna asked, her voice barely a whisper. I thought he was okay now. We monitor every patient closely after a major surgery. It's normal, Dr. Wilkins promised. Mr. Terupt is doing well at this point. We sat there looking at him like a team that had just lost their big game. Hey guys, don't give up now, Dr. Wilkins said. This is when your teacher needs you most. This is good news today. And then Anna came through in the clutch. She took the lead and said what we needed to hear. He's going to make it. Trust me on this one. Be positive. Mr. Turp told me that once, and he was right. All right, we're going to stop there for today. Um, there's something about Jeffrey's character that I feel like the more his story unfolds, you can just kind of see how sad it is for him. Um, but they're all pulling even the most difficult things in their life together and helping each other through this, which is really an amazing thing. All right, looking forward to hearing from you guys today. I'd love to hear what you think about the books as we probably are approaching the end. Um, let's have a good day. Bye.